Speaking about round three, we're going to wrap things up here with our round three tipping. There's some interesting matchups here, and some of them where, yeah, the majority of people probably on the right spot here, but some of them I chose a couple against them. And of course, it worked out last round. I had a bold pick or two, and they both kind of paid off. So I'll just chalk that up to luck and no skill whatsoever when it comes to that. But coach, let's get into our tipping here. We're going to start things off with the first game of the round. That is your Sydney Swans taking on the Doggies. We got 57% of the world taking the Swans, and will you be joining them like I am here?
Normally I'm very leery about games like this, tipping the Swannies, but I think with the way Brisbane has played defensively has not been very strong. The way Sydney is playing, I think they have a little bit of an advantage in the ruck, and I think their defense is going to be able to hold Naughton down a little bit. I'm going to tip the Swans in this one, but I think this is a good game. I think tomorrow morning will be a fantastic game of footy to watch. I think the Swans win it, but not by much.
Swans are definitely, I would say, my favorite underdog pick of the week. They're right now seeing the odds wise $2.08, where you got $1.75 to the Doggies on this one. Definitely a little bit of a different betting odd margin in our next one. And are you Melbourne against Essendon? I'm excited with the only team here that makes sense, and that's the Dons. No, I'm just kidding. It's the D's.
The Demons
Sorry,
are so
Essendon.
good, with Essendon being as woeful as they have been playing. As much as I love the Dons, I got to go D's here. I think this is one of those. Can the Dons keep it close, or can the D's really put a hurting on this Dons team it really is struggling right now?
Mm-hmm. The next one should be a pretty fun one. We take it to the showdown, one of the games that's happening on the Friday, and of course a little bit of controversy coming off of that, of course. But we got the Crows and the Port Adelaide Power, and I'm rolling with the 16% of the world that's going with the Crows. And I think I saw like maybe one expert tipping them as well. So I don't know. I'm gonna have a fun time with this one.
This is probably the most least confident pick I'm gonna have the entire round, because I see why a lot of people are tipping the Crows, because why some people are tipping the Crows because of how, but I just think there's enough talent on Port in Adelaide right now. I don't know what type of team they want to be. I don't know if they want to be a ball possession team. I don't know if they want to be a pressure team. I at least Port somewhat knows what they're doing. Their issue has been scoring. I don't think Adelaide really gives them a lot of danger when it comes to scoring. So I'm going to tip Port in this one. But I'm with you. Like this is probably one of the weirdest showdowns I think I've ever seen, because normally you have one team that's playing well, one team that's or you have two great teams. Very rarely do you have a showdown where both teams are not playing well. So I'm very interested to see how this one goes. To kind of explain a little bit what you were talking about is that we technically have two Friday games in the early morning. The reason that they are overlapping is the original AFLW Grand Final was supposed to be this week. That's why they had moved it, so then that the grand final would have clear air. There would be no men's game while the women's game was playing. Well, that kind of got shot,
right?
Well, that got shot in the you-know-what. So now there's actually two preliminary finals this week that are also still going to be getting that free air, so they couldn't adjust the times. So unfortunately, I do understand a lot of people in Adelaide are not happy, because the showdown is something that they've always wanted on prime time on a Friday, and they're getting it, but not really getting it, I think, the way they expected. So, and then I'd also like to, before we finish our tips, can I please put my tips out for the AFLW 2 preliminary grand finals at the end of this? You don't have to tip, because I know you haven't been watching it as much as me, but I'd like to throw that in at the end if you don't mind.
Absolutely, we can do that. Awesome. We'll save that for the end here. A little bit of icing on the proverbial cake. And this is my tip with the Crows is definitely going to be my bold, at least one bold one of the round. And we'll see if this one's able to pay off as well as they did last round. Now we got the Giants and the Gold Coast Suns. And Oh boy, if the Giants fall to 0-3 to this team, I will not be all too happy. So I'm rolling with the Giants. I have hope. This is the third time this year I've tipped them. Let's hope it's not a jinx.
I'm,
Oh,
I'm gonna tip the Giants in this one. I think the Giants have just a little too much talent, and even losing Phil Taylor, I still think they're a better club. But this is one I'm also not
I'm
super
worried.
confident with because I think Gold Coast has been playing better. They really pushed Melbourne a lot more than I think some people expected. So I'm going to tip GWS in this one, but this is another one. This will not shock me if this goes to Gold Coast because Gold Coast is playing much, much better footy to start this season. But they've done this before for 7 games, played well, and then airplane dive into the ocean. So.
Yeah, I'm not looking forward to this game. I'm going to be very nervous, and definitely I'm trying to do my best to lower expectations. And I'm trying to lower expectations for the Collingwood Magpies because, sweet damn, I kind of like riding on this train. Shout out to the greatest footy player of all time, Mason Cox, and you cannot tell me otherwise. Him and his glasses are just Hall of Fame bound, and I think it's safe to say on that one. Not an overreaction, by the way. But the next game is actually one that I went back and forth on a lot because, we have the Magpies, we have the Geelong Cats. We've seen 2 different versions of the Cats. We've seen one consistent version of the Magpies. I'm going with the Cats, but this one, I struggle with this one.
I understand that there's a few more people hopping on the Magpies for this tip because of the way the Cats played, but I think the Swans are just a little bit of a better team than Collingwood is. So I think that's a little bit. And Geelong was
I don't think that's an
woefully bad. Well, Geelong was woefully bad in front of goal, and I think that really helped.
Okay.
I mean, they out inside 50 them. A lot of the categories actually did go to Geelong. It was just Sydney was more accurate on the night, and I think that's really what kind of changed that game. So I'm going to tip the Cats in this one. Yes, Collingwood plays the MCG pretty well. But I'm going to go with the Cats. I think they bounce back. I think they kind of get the little kick in the butt that they needed. And I think they bounce back, and they bounce back well against the Collingwood team. I think a little bit of a benefactor of a couple of teams that haven't played as well. So I'm going to tip the Cats in this one.
Now, the next game, in terms of the spread of the odds, this is the biggest one. If you throw it back to Melbourne and the Dons, that was a 97% tipping rate to the Ds. Now we got 98%, or at least according to AFL.com, 98% are going with the Brisbane Lions against the North Melbourne Roos, and it's kind of hard to disagree with that.
This one, I just think Brisbane is just so good. I think North Melbourne, they capitalized on a waffle team last week. I think we kind of see what North Melbourne really is like. I'm hoping North Melbourne can somewhat keep this game close. It's not going to be an absolute disaster, but the possibilities of it becoming a blowout are they're there. At the Gabba, Lions will win. Lions should win this one, and they should win this one easily, but you never know. Maybe North Melbourne finally, after getting that wins, got some confidence, and they get kind of back that rough and gritty side that they had a lot last year. So
this next one, I really want to tip Hawthorn against Carlton. I really wanted to. I couldn't fully bring myself to do that just because I do have a surprising amount of faith in Carlton at this point, a little bit more than Hawthorn. But hey, man, I guess I wouldn't be surprised if the Hawks take this one and just totally derail the Carlton hype train and take all that hype into themselves and just be the next big thing in this league.
I think this is one of those where I look at who Carlton's played in the first 2 games. I look at Hawthorn, who they played in the first 2 games. And I kind of go, I'm going to tip this to Carlton. I think Carlton's a better team. I think Carlton's had a tougher challenge and have really stepped up to the plate when they needed to. I'm going to tip Carlton in this one, but this is another one a lot like the Gold Coast Suns game. I see one team winning it, but it will not shock me if the other does because it's just kind of the way footy is the way footy has been the last few years is that as soon as you think it's a slam dunk, that's when all heck breaks loose. So I'm going to tip Carlton, but I'm going to give the Hawks a little bit more of a sniff in this one than I think some people are.
I like that. I think this is going to be a close game, or at least it probably will. If you're going to bet an underdog, I would definitely be betting on Hawthorne this round. We got Carlton at a $1.54, while Hawthorne ran 2.49. So this underdog tip would definitely grant you a little bit of that moolah. The second to last game is going to be the St. Kilda Saints and the Richmond Tigers, and St. Kilda did me well in my tips from last round, and you know what? I think this is going to be an extremely close game. The betting line displays that as well. I'm going with the 23%. Let's go St. Kilda Saints once more.
This is one of those, like I said, if I'm the rest of the competition, I'm angry with GWS because I think they might have woke up Richmond.
It's okay. I'm really angry
monster.
at them too.
St. Kilda, I think, capitalized on a Frio team that's not kicking goals. This Richmond team they can score, which I think they capitalized a little bit on that fact. I'm gonna tip Richmond in this one, but I'm with you. I can see this potentially. I mean, St. Kilda's been pesky. I mean, their injury worries has been the issue with me, is that they still, Rowan Marshall's having to try to do a majority of the ruck, and I think it really kind of takes him out of what he's really good at, and being that resting full forward that can come in and pitch hit in the ruck occasionally. So I'm going to tip Richmond in this one, but St. Kilda will be in this game.
I think so too. And finishing things off with another rivalry game, Donnie. Forgive my ignorance, everyone listening. This one, I know there's a showdown, there's a derby. Which one is
just the Western Derby?
Western Derby. Thank you.
Yep.
And that's kind of what I was thinking with. I didn't want to be fully wrong on that one. At least they're not Richmond fans when you get something wrong about them. Hey, but what would you know? Oh man, this show's kind of turned a little bit of a Richmond hate fest. We love you guys. I mean, just don't hate us. Hate the concession stands at the MCG. All right, now that's where you really have to throw your energy. But we got the Eagles and the Fremantle Dockers in this one. I'll roll with the Dockers, the 73% of the world in this one. I mean, it does help when they can actually fill up a list.
This is one I honestly jump back and forth because I know the Eagles had so many outs last week. They should get. It sounds like they're going to get a good portion of them back. And the scary part about it is that some of them that are coming back are superstars. I mean, you get the Kennedys back, you get the Kellys back. I mean, you've got some high-quality players. I think Frio is going to do enough because there are still enough missing pieces in this West Coast team. But I think this should be a much closer tip than I think than what it's looking like. I at least the tipping app that I have is 77% Frio. I'm surprised this isn't a 50-50 tipper, because I've seen a lot of people that are on the West Coast on this because of the fact Frio has had issues scoring. So I'm going to tip Frio in this one, but this is another one I bounce back and forth because, again, West Coast ins that it sounds like they're going to get back in this week are some impact players. So I tip Frio, but I'm leery on this particular tip. So